It was basically a no-brainer. PhD is over. The technology is running wild. People are already queuing to get VR training on the market. So logical consequence, let's get this baby flying.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a rating. And now, here's your host, Sylvan.
Christian, a very well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you as a guest today.
Hi there.
You're the co-founder of AtlasVR, a startup that provides a solution to complement and substitute industrial vocational training. I'm really curious to learn more about that, but first, always the question, what actually motivated you to start your own company, AtlasVR?
It's a very interesting question. We always get this, and it's, in my opinion, a super lovely story because we were in so many awkward situations. The three co-founders, Joy, Valentin, and me, where we were working together at ETH in different research projects. And then we get to this point where we have the companies that we work together with, and they come up to us, hey, guys, now we develop a virtual reality training environment together. We saw what you did. We love what you did. And we want someone that is now professionally creating something for us and only for us and not kind of these research pilots on the go. Who can do that? And more often than not, and to be honest, in every case, we didn't know what to answer. And then we have this awkward situation like, we want to tell you who, but we don't know because there is no one that has been specialized at that point in virtual reality training in the whole of Switzerland. And after being in this situation 5 or 6 times, we just kind of got sick of it and was like, you know what? Why don't we do this? Let's start this baby, give it a proper name, Atlas VR, and then we see where we can go. And we will now provide virtual reality training for anybody that needs it.
That's so cool. And that leads me to the next question about the timing. So the timing was probably right for you because you got all that interest from companies that you were in touch with. Is that a fair statement?
A very fair statement, absolutely. But at the same time, virtual reality is and has been in this perfect sweet spot. I mean, it dropped off the Gartner hype cycle in 2018, I think. Usually, like you go by the rule of thumb, 5 years, and then the technology is ready for wider adoption. So 2018 to 2023, it was this perfect sweet spot to get virtual reality out there and really get some professional results from it. The equipment becomes way more powerful. It becomes way cheaper and also a lot more comfortable for consumer use. Okay, cheaper, not always. Let's give some backshots here on Apple with nowadays situation. But I mean, look at the Meta Quest 3. The thing is available for $500 and you have a consumer product that you can just buy as an individual. You don't need special equipment. You don't need a PC that runs whatever kind of graphics card and this like 10K of value. You can just like get started, $500 and you're in the game.
Amazing. Yeah, certainly sort of an inflection point for you and your company. Before, you also mentioned your co-founders. Where and how did you meet them? Was it all ETH related, or how did you meet your co-founders?
100% ETH related. We studied together. We basically grew up together as mechanical engineers in the harsh ETH Zurich environments. And then we got together during the PhDs and theses. And there we started to collaborate because, first of all, we loved VR. We still love VR, by the way. And then we figured out like different collaboration constellations. Like I worked with Joy, I worked with Valentin and Joy worked together. We worked as individuals on project, and then also the three of us together with different roles. And we just realized this works. It works on a personal level. It works on a professional level. We kind of got to love each other as friends. It was basically a no-brainer. PhD is over. The technology is running wild. People are already queuing to get VR training on the market. So logical consequence, let's get this baby flying.
Amazing. I love that. And talking about flying, I'm sure you also have some milestones that you can share with us that you recently achieved with your dream team. Please tell us more about that.
The milestones of 2024, for me, they were pretty wild. And I So as a teaser, I'm super proud of what we managed to do in 2024. We just recently, 2 weeks ago, we closed our biggest customer so far, which will be with us for the next 3 years for sure. We just onboarded 3 more super talented developers, which I really truly love collaborating with. We changed the business model. We streamlined the business model starting 2024. And with all this going on, we have already our books are filled until the end of the year and even have the first pre-orders for 2025. So all of this together is for us like just a sequence of milestones that we just love sharing every now and then, and it fulfills us terrifically with pride of what we did, and we're super excited on where it goes next year.
Amazing. Congrats on these milestones. That sounds super cool and also very useful because the commercial part is probably always one of the most difficult ones, I would say.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
And at the same time, I'm sure you also have some challenges that you faced along the way. What were some of the toughest challenges or the toughest challenge that you had to overcome so far?
Glad you're asking exactly this question because it's exactly this product market fit. Finding the right people to pay for VR training was not an easy thing to do. We started off right off the bat with the machine tool industry. And in the beginning, we thought like, can this work or would it not work? For what reasons? And then we thought it's potentially can be a bit too conservative, and it takes us too much time to really convince this particular industry with clear primary goals completely somewhere else than VR training. Their primary goal is to sell drilling or grinding and not training for it. So how can we as a side product really establish ourselves with VR training there? And from there, when we failed to really sign this proper contracts in the first year, we did this kind of customer pivot and found a lot of reception in the construction industry and also in the mobility industry. So my favorite example of today is that in the electrical vehicle industry, like with car mechanics, basically, we currently have an amazing use case where we can train in safe environments how people work on electric vehicles. And considering that there is high voltage involved, it can be quickly very deadly if you were not paying attention to the right safety procedures or protocols on the road there.
Absolutely. I imagine this a bit like pilots, right? You also train them in a simulator, not with a VR, but sort of hardware, big VR to not damage the equipment and themselves eventually. So this is exactly a huge problem that you solve there, in my perspective.
100%, 100%. And we actually also thought about the air industry and especially pilots with this. But the huge pain working with pilots is certifications. And to get VR training in this sense certified, it costs a lot of time and money. And as a startup, we were rather aiming for the immediate impacts that we could achieve. But yeah, of course, air industry is crazy interesting to us as well.
Maybe in the future, who knows, right?
Definitely, definitely. It's on the list.
Perfect. And with that being said, I'm sure you also have some competitors trying to build something similar or being active in the same segment as you are. How does that competitive landscape look like? And how do you also differentiate from potential competitors out there?
Competitor landscape is surprisingly boring. That's something that we learned on the way. Like we already started the company kind of with the premise of there is no one that we know. And then we started to look into the topics, especially in Switzerland. There is not a lot of companies that really are able to provide virtual reality training solutions. There are, of course, agencies. We are content agencies that do provide VR training if you ask for VR training. But this is exactly where we differentiate. We have done our research for 5 and 6 years, respectively, among the founders, working in research, how VR training needs to be conveyed. What is important to make it effective? What is important to make it efficient? And how can we ensure that the training content is really conveyed to the user, to the trainee, so they really learn and benefit how the process really works? And this is one of our huge benefits that we have this imbued VR didactics, as we call it. You can do so many different things in VR that you cannot do in reality. You can highlight things, you can fly around with things, you can make things pop up, pop down, and whatever. And these kind of things, to do it properly, That's what we really researched deeply. So we can say we know what we're doing, and like this, we provide the best VR training that is available on the market. I would suggestively say.
That's your unfair advantage in that sense.
100%, definitely. I think no one in the world can say that they've already been working in VR training research for 6 years.
At the same time, you're also fundraising. So please tell us a bit more about how much money that you're looking for and what these funds will eventually be used for.
In 2024, we are raising 900,000 Swiss francs in total. We already closed 200K in March as the first warm-up option. And now we're aiming to close the rest, the 700K, until the end of October, roughly. As I mentioned, we streamlined the business model in the early 2024. This takes time until it's fully in place and all the customers are fully converted in the license-based model, so we can really ensure this long-term ARR and keep the company stable in this regard. So part of the money that we're raising right now will go towards sustaining this business model, and most of the fundraise will go towards our long-term product vision, which is an AI-driven platform that automatically creates virtual reality training content.
Wow, that sounds super powerful. I'm excited to see that in action.
Definitely, same here.
You also, with your fundraising efforts, you also placed an offer with the Swisspreneur Syndicate. So I encourage everyone who would like to have a look at your pitch deck and learn more about AtlasVR to sign up for the deals through swisspreneur.org/syndicate to have a look and maybe make their own investment decision to become part of your story. Christian, to wrap up the episode today, I also have 3 rapid fire questions that are a bit outside of the business, the startup that you're building, just to get a better perspective on you as a person. The first one, what was your summer job as a teenager?
I literally worked on construction. So for me, I'm basically going back to the roots, yes.
Wonderful. And what are you most proud of in your life?
If I'm not saying Atlas, everything will be wrong. But at this point, I'm really proud of all the students I was able to work with during my PhD. It was an amazing experience to see all those people grow. There were so many students that really started to see the world differently during their theses, like breaking down, getting back up on the horse. So that was super exciting to see how people managed to grow in such a short time during the thesis.
Amazing. And the last question for you today, what is a surprising fact about you that not many people know?
I'm not sure not many people know, but I'm a tech guy through and through. I'm as nerdy as it gets and still love gardening.
Wow, that's a cool combination.
Don't know why. I love gardening so much, especially working with chilies. Somewhere during the COVID pandemic, I discovered working with chilies or playing around with chilies. It's not working anymore. And the hotter or spicier they get, the more fun it is. I mean, I cannot eat the super spicy ones, but I love to see people suffer, especially if I can be proud of having created this bad boy in my garden.
Amazing. That's a cool way. I never heard that before on the podcast. That's a really cool story. Christian, thank you so much for coming on the show. Good luck with the fundraising efforts, and we hope to become part of your journey with the Swisspreneur Syndicate. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.